Tonight, evacuations are continuing in the Northwest Territories as hundreds of wildfires continue to threaten communities as members of the military arrive.
The concept is about making sure that people don't have to leave home for supports and services that oftentimes don't even meet their needs.
Plus, ground is broken on a new addictions and trauma treatment center in Iqaluit.
Just having some fun playing football. Throwing some deep bombs.
And we'll check in on the Alberta Indigenous Games as they get some advice from professional athletes. Good evening, Tansei Anin. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. The Canadian Armed Forces have deployed 124 soldiers to assist with firefighting efforts in the Northwest Territories. More than 230 fires are currently burning in the region. Evacuation orders have been issued for Enterprise, Hay River, Katlodeche First Nation, Fort Smith, Salt River First Nation, and Jean Marie River. The city of Yellowknife has also declared a state of emergency. Highway 1 from the Alberta border reopened earlier today, but non-essential travel is still not recommended. Fires have been burning in the Northwest Territories since early May.
We are close to our capital city with our forest fires. We are fighting them desperately. We called in the armed forces. They are helping us as well. We have help from other jurisdictions, but right across Canada, right across the globe, I believe this is an effective climate change, and I think this is something that we're going to see more of as we go forward.
For more on the fire situation in the territory, we are joined once again by Ollie Williams, the editor of Cabin Radio, who joins us from Yellowknife. Ollie, thanks so much for joining us here again. Now, there's been some major developments overnight. Can you bring us up to speed on sort of what's happened over the past 24 hours or so?
Sure, Daryl. So there's a couple of different things happening. I'm going to start south of Great Slave Lake with Hay River and Fort Smith. Neither of those communities saw the fires get there overnight. That's the good news. There was a little bit of rain, but the mayor of Hay River is saying there's still about 500 people out of a town of 3,000 who haven't left yet. And she's incredibly worried because they've only got air access out right now and there's no communication still in the town, so you have to go door to door. So they're doing everything they can to get people out. The town of Fort Smith, everyone was safe this morning, but still the fire is right on their doorstep and they're hoping that the weather keeps it there. It's really down to the weather right now. Here in Yellowknife, we've moved to a state of emergency locally from yesterday evening, which doesn't mean an evacuation notice or an alert or an order, but it does mean the city can now commandeer the contractors or the tools that it needs to build more fire breaks. And we've just heard in the last few hours that the wildfire west of the city is now about 20 kilometers away. It's moved 7 kilometers closer in the past day. And NWT Fire says there's rising risk to the community.
Well, certainly plenty of developments over there, and we're also starting to see, Ollie, some of the images coming out of Enterprise, which we talked about yesterday, the small community in the NWT. What are you hearing about the damage there and elsewhere?
The mayor of Enterprise this morning said he's putting it at 90% destroyed. I've seen other people use, say, 75%, 80%. I don't think it necessarily matters what figure you use at that point. Most of that community has burned. It's an incredible tragedy for the community of Enterprise. It's a very small community, Daryl. You're only looking at 40, 50 people, maybe a few more than that. It's essentially a stop on the highway for a lot of people, but it's a really tight-knit community that were really proud of themselves and had a lot of meaning. So it's a devastating blow for them, and we're certainly hoping that they're going to find a way to come back from that. But the whole community is evacuated, and it looks as though there's not much of Enterprise left.
That's too bad to hear. And Ollie, the military is also there. Are there any signs of relief on the wildfire situation in the coming days, or is there a concern things may get worse still?
I think there's definitely a concern that we're not necessarily yet on the upswing, if you like, Daryl. Certainly Fort Smith and Hay River in the south, like a lot of people have left and have made it to safety, but there is still grave concern for what might happen if the fires make it just a few extra kilometers to the edges of those communities. They're really not far away at all. They're in a lot of jeopardy. In Yellowknife, we're not at the evacuation notice point yet. There's also the discussion, Daryl, of where would Yellowknife go and how would you do it? The fire is approaching from the direction of the one highway south. And you're talking 20,000 people. Yeah, we have an airport, but are we going to airlift 20,000 people? The city's plan up to this point has been to shelter in place and to move people, if they absolutely had to parts of the city that were less threatened. We don't yet know precisely how that plan might roll out, and we're not there yet. It's really important for me to stress that, but there's certainly a lot of concern in the city right now about what's going to happen with this wildfire. And as you say, the military are out there today with contractors, with firefighters, building fire breaks, and just getting Yellowknife as prepared as it can be.
Yeah, Ollie, we'll certainly keep an eye on all of these updates, and our best certainly goes out to everyone affected by these wildfires. We'll have to leave it there. Ollie, thanks so much for giving us an update here.
Thank you, Darren.
Search and rescue missions continue in Hawaii after a historic and deadly wildfire devastated that region. The official death toll has now climbed to at least 99 people. 1,300 people are believed to still be missing. Only 25% of the affected area has been searched so far. Hawaii's governor has warned that the death toll will likely rise significantly. The fires scorched most of the historic town of Lahaina. U.S. President Joe Biden says the federal government will do whatever it takes to support the state. The Mohawks of Akwesasne are voting in an online referendum which is currently underway. It began last Friday, and it's over approving a settlement decades in the making. The claim was filed in 1976 against Canada and the St. Lawrence Seaway Authority. It is for damages from flooding and loss of land due to building the St. Lawrence Seaway, which opened in 1959. If approved by membership, the settlement is worth $45 million. The federal government would also give back ownership of expropriated lands, which includes where the Seaway International Bridge Tollway Plaza sits. The final date of vote is August the 26th, which is also the only day for an in-person vote. All right, we need to pause our show for a moment. We will have more news when we return in just a few minutes. Welcome back to APTN National News. Nunavuts' new Addictions and Trauma Treatment Center now has a name, Iqaluit. And this week, the Nunavut government, Canada, and Nunavut Tungavik Incorporated hosted a tundra turning ceremony in Iqaluit to mark the start of its construction. The new facility will come with an $83.7 million price tag, jointly funded by the three parties. The new name describes the trail one goes through to reach their destination and is symbolic of a healthy recovery. It will house 24 beds and community-centered care, which will include treatment for pregnant women to prevent fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. The federal government says this fulfills TRC Call to Action 21, which involves building Indigenous healing centers.
The concept is about making sure that people don't have to leave home for supports and services that oftentimes don't even meet their needs. So this is really a concept that's been driven by community and by Inuit to better serve people that need help right now closer to home. It's going to be also people who want to come as a day patient or coming for special programming. There's on-the-land programming. They'll be offering on-the-land programming in even more remote communities, and that requires consistency of care. So the operating dollars reflect the need for stability in the organization.
Representatives of Vancouver's International Airport and the Musqueam First Nation joined together to unveil a very special place at the YVR airport. The Musqueam Gathering Place will welcome travelers from around the world, where they will have the opportunity to immerse themselves in the culture and rich heritage of the Musqueam people. The centerpiece for the space is a stunning handcrafted 30-foot ocean-going canoe. It was carved from a 600-year-old red cedar log. The canoe is a collaboration between master carvers from 10 different communities, along with 126 airport staff who each got an opportunity to carve a little bit of the canoe. The project is part of a friendship agreement between the Musqueam and the airport signed in 2017 to achieve a mutually beneficial relationship between the airport and the Musqueam community.
Recognizing that we are on the traditional, unceded, and continuously occupied territory of Musqueam, making sure that our symbols, our welcome posts, the way that we welcome newcomers to our region and indeed our country is done in a good way, celebrating Musqueam and Musqueam traditions. This space here that you see behind me is yet another way that we can show the commitment that we have to Musqueam and advance the learnings that are so important.
Our ancestors are here with us today. It was their goal and vision for us to be part of our land, our community, and knowing that the lands were taken away from us, but how we, in our declaration, it talks about how we work together. When we talk about reconciliation and we talk about building relationships, how we can move forward, I think that this is the Cadillac version for the federal government, provincial government, and municipalities, and the general public to learn how we can work together and how we can accomplish goals.
The Alberta Indigenous Games are ongoing in Edmonton this week. A new sport added to these games is flag football. APTN's Chris Stewart was there for a practice and talked to some of the athletes.
A hot August afternoon at Rundle Park in Edmonton was the setting for Monday's flag football practice. Youth from all ages and sizes were here to learn the rules and get in on some football action. James Gladue, Easton Tatry, and Lucas O'Raw all play contact football in the Edmonton-based Capital District Minor Football Association. Gladue is a multi-sport athlete, and this is his second Alberta Indigenous Games. He says flag football is a good fit as a new sport.
I think it's like a really good thing to put in. You know, ever since I've done AIG, I've been like, you know, wondering like football, whatever, and like now that it's actually put in, I feel like a lot more kids maybe want to join in and do it. It's like a really good option, like good sport to put in.
Easton Tatry was looking sharp at quarterback.
Just having some fun playing football, throwing some deep bombs.
I saw some of those bombs. They look pretty impressive. Tell me about that.
Well, we have some good players on this team, so it makes it really easy.
While there were only 2 teams competing in these games, Lucas O'Raw thinks the game will grow in popularity quickly.
I think flag football is amazing being a part of these games. I think that it should be definitely implemented. There should be more teams.
2 former CFL players are here to offer advice and football tips. Curtis DeBlanco and Odell Willis.
It's great. It's a little slow, but at the end of the day, you got to start somewhere. So I just think getting it started is the first initiative, and you never know what the snowball effect can do.
The players took in the coaching well. Even the youngest were improving.
I think they're learning, and it's really neat to see because you can help them learn. You can teach them, and it's really good at learning experience.
The games continue until Saturday. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Well, it's really cool seeing some of the former CFL players there. All right, one more break is upon us now. When we return, a look at the origins of the jingle dress. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. This view from RV at Nunavut Tuesday morning is of smoke from the wildfires in the Northwest Territories. Thank you to Hilary Manick for sharing this photo, and we certainly want to wish our best to everyone who's affected by the wildfires. You can send your photos to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. All right, now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Beginning on the east coast, 20 in St. John's and 21 in rain in Halifax, 15 in Nain and 21 in Happy Valley Goose Bay, 25 in Quebec City and 25 in Montreal, 26 degrees in Toronto and 25 in North Bay, 24 degrees in Elliott Lake and 24 in Sioux Lookout. Some showers in 18 in Churchill and 17 degrees in Norway House. 16 in showers in Barons River, and 23 in showers in Winnipeg. 22 degrees in Regina and 22 in Saskatoon. 20 degrees in Buffalo Narrows and 20 in Stony Rapids. Continuing west to 22 in Fort Chipewyan and 23 in Peace River. Clear and 24 in Edmonton and 30 degrees in Lethbridge. 28 degrees in Victoria and 29 in Campbell River. 27 degrees in Clear and Prince George and 17 in Dease Lake. 14 in Beaver Creek and 19 in Rock River. 21 degrees in Wrigley and 21 in Norman Wells. 15 in Inuvik and 16 in Colville Lake. 11 degrees in Cambridge Bay and 19 in Whale Cove. 14 in Clear in Clyde River and 10 degrees in Kingite. The Summer Powwow Trail was strong this season, back from pandemic restrictions. With one of its largest in decades, hundreds across Turtle Island drove to a small Lake of the Woods, Northwestern Ontario First Nation the second weekend of July. Not just for dance competitions for its 50th anniversary, but to get closer to the origin story of the healing jingle dress. Carly Jogner has a feature story series around the origins of the jingle dress and what it means for people.
Vibrant colors and patterns of regalia glistened under sun, fireworks, and lightning to the many heartbeat drums as hundreds gathered from across Turtle Island to Nokemigwaning Waterfront Powwow.
This is my first time being to this powwow. We just been on the powwow trail, and so you decided to come here. And so we came here to dance and sing and have fun.
We're going to go 2 songs for the princess contestants here.
For its 50th anniversary, the community opened Friday evening with a recognition of a youth dance pageant, including the naming of Miss Nokemigwaning.
I think it's very special to be here on the 50th anniversary and be princess and being from here too. I think it was very empowering to dance and for it to slowly be coming back. And it's very connecting to Mother Earth. Just keep trying and practicing and just do it for fun. Dance for your community.
Another contestant, Tegan Lowe, danced in Jingle regalia.
I think it's a very beautiful style to dance. And I love seeing everybody dancing around in Jingle. It's really beautiful.
Bordering Ontario and Minnesota, the Northwestern Ontario Ojibwe community under Treaty 3, formerly known as Whitefish Bay First Nation, is known for the healing origin story of the jingle dress dating back from the 1920s.
I've tried dancing fancy before, but I didn't feel that it suited me, so I stuck to Jingle, and that's all I've ever danced since I was able to walk. I danced for my family and my uncle last year who passed away, and he's all I think about when I dance. He was my best friend. I loved him with all my heart.
Dancing Jingle for the first time while the community announced the first-time women flag bearers for the grand entry, Kayla Wesley says it was a powerful experience connecting to her roots here.
I think being here is awesome. It brings family and friends closer, and I just feel good. When I put down my tobacco,
there's an extension cord here for you.
It's for myself and also for my family. It's just
9
my way of
dancers out there
watch over us, but I'm also
there.
thankful. So that's just my intentions when I enter the circle.
The 19-year-old says it's important to learn the knowledge as well as the dance.
This community, Whitefish Bay, like where it originated and where it started, when the jingle dress dancers are dancing, they're spreading their healing. It's important to go to continue to learn the knowledge. It's not just about dancing, it's also listening to the elders
asking for an extension cord. There's
and taking their knowledge that they have to share.
Back on up here.
Ontaria Arrow White is a jingle dress dancer from Idaho. She says her family came to the powwow because of its jingle dress origin story.
I always wanted to come here to Whitefish Bay, and this is my first time, and I really enjoy it here.
She says she dances for her great-grandmother who recently passed.
I've been doing it for her as her wish, just to keep on going and dancing. And one thing is she really admired my dancing and jingle, so that's what I've been doing right now, is just thinking about her.
She says while she's heard of other origin stories coming out of Red Lake, Minnesota, this jingle dress story comes from the community's late Maggie White.
The reason why I dance jingle dress is because I'm a 3-generation family. My grandma used to dance fancy, but now she dances traditional. But back in the day, she used to dance against Maggie White, so it's very honored to be around where she's from. And my mom dances jingle, so I dance a jingle as well. But it's a really powerful dance, and I'm very honored to be dancing, especially over here in Whitefish, to learn so much more of the home of the jingle dress.
Linda Bird traveled from Winnipeg to dance in her hometown.
She was the first one to wear it. Back then they used to have only shawl dancing, traditional dancing, and she wore that dress basically by herself. If it hadn't been for the White family, this jingle dress would have died out, because from what I know that they were ridiculed because there was no jingle dress dancers way back then. But then when they pushed it to dance in the healing dress, then everybody started to understand. Now everybody wants to heal because there's so much hurt in this world, and we have to keep moving on. We can't stop. It's really what it is, a healing dance.
We're singing for him in his memory. We're singing for the family, that they too find that healing from that grieving as they're honoring their loved one here this weekend. And as he is one of the original singers of the Whitefish Bay Singers, these gentlemen are going to be singing that first intertribal song.
She danced Saturday during a memorial drum dance for her late uncle and Whitefish Bay drummer Tommy White.
I just lifted myself up like the way Maggie White did. She was lifted up, and I just went, and then it started to clear my sadness and to move on. You just glow after that. That's the power of jingle dress dancing.
There will be a few more parts to Carly's story, which we will have in the coming days. And with that, that is all we have for you on this Tuesday edition of APTN National News. For the latest on any of our stories from tonight, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. For all of us here, thank you so much for joining us. Miigwech, Kinanaskawtin, and have a great night.